Hi, Daniel.
So Daniel went to Purdue, so he doesn't have IU banter, but Shea has a child at Purdue.
Oh,
I
okay.
do.
Nice. What are they studying?
Business.
Business? Okay.
Yeah,
So
he was
Cranert?
Well, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
So direct admit into computer science,
Nice.
and we blew that opportunity. So we came home for a little bit and re-engaged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recentered?
Yep.
Yep.
Recentered and going strong.
Okay.
So
That's
trying
good.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's no joke up there.
No, it's not. It's tough.
I know.
It's not
Sorry
like
about the
IU.
loss this season. Were you following?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately. It
Don't
seemed
say
like it was.
unfortunately.
Well, I mean, it was all
you guys
lining
went to
up.
the
Yeah,
national
that's
championship
so
game.
true.
Whoa. It was all lined up.
Yeah.
There's a celestial event. Purdue has a lot of astronauts. Should have all lined up to a Purdue win.
And there's
A
no more
celestial
Purdue
event.
statement than what you just said.
Exactly.
That is so Purdue.
Exactly. So
We were talking
on
about the
point.
nerds at Purdue, which is great.
self-appointed,
Yeah.
as
Awesome.
Vince will tell you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey, congrats to all the Boiler fans.
Yep, it was awesome.
I'm sorry it didn't work out. I actually was cheering for you guys,
Yeah.
as I
Appreciate
told
that.
you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I wanted to
I
see
know.
it.
I was
Yeah.
too.
I
I
wanted
picked
you guys
you
to
to
get
win.
You got to root for Indiana basketball. Doesn't matter who it is.
Right. Well, once
gotta-
IU's
well,
out,
yes.
and if they're not in, then
Yeah.
Purdue.
Yep. I'd root for IU if they were
Or
in it.
Butler,
It's
right?
it's
I'm going to write that down.
Indiana basketball is
Yeah.
is where it's at. So
Yeah, it is.
Well, good. So I don't know where I was going to go with that.
Well, we could
Great
go.
transition.
We could go right into our Sour Patch Kids.
Do we want to talk about Sour Patch Kids?
Yeah, because we were just talking about it,
Right.
and you must have a thing for it.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's how you and I reconnected again. I was posting about wellness on LinkedIn, and
Right.
you sent me a message and said, "Are Sour Patch Kids good for me?" or something
Yeah,
like.
are they-
Am I allowed to eat Sour Patch Kids? Like, yeah. And I said, absolutely. You can have as many as you want.
That's not what you said. But that's what I understood.
Right.
question is-
That's what
that's
you
what I
heard,
heard.
right?
right now in the center console of your car, do you have a bag of?
I don't.
Sour
But
Patch
if
Kids?
you go into my office and one of the drawers in the desk opens up, and I'll have protein bars,
Yes.
low, like 0 sugar added. They're actually pretty good, and they actually taste okay.
Shocker.
But Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. Where
Balances out.
Yeah, I don't do Sour Patch. Yeah, I don't like the sour. Is it the sour and the sweet, or just the sour?
I think it's more the sour. Yeah.
Could suck on a lime or a lemon or something, probably. Put a little sugar
Just keep
on
a
it.
little like citric acid in your drawer. Just sprinkle that in.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
That's- okay.
I'll stop and grab a couple of limes on the way downtown after this. And,
Yeah.
and see
See
how
if
it
that
goes.
works.
Yeah. I'll take a picture with the sour face. So what do you have there?
Well, I have here for you some alternatives.
Oh boy.
Okay. So
Well, we're already 0 for 1 because I'm not smart, but maybe at least will make me smarter.
I'm sure there's nothing but marketing. I am sure it's full of junk. I didn't have my readers on, so I couldn't even read the ingredients. So I'm
This is
sure.
no artificial sweeteners. So
Yeah, and only 3 grams of sugar, which I know is probably better than Sour Patch Kids. Yeah, and it's like $40 per packet, and I think there's like
Sweet.
3 of them in there.
was with a coupon,
and I'm
right?
sure they taste awful.
Well, I will let you know. Okay, folks.
Yeah.
For the makers of Smart Sweets, thank you for making these for those of us who are
Sponsored by.
addicted to.
Yeah.
We don't have any sponsors yet, so
No.
There's still time.
This is
we can
their
do
time.
Sour Blast Buddies or the
Yeah.
Sweet Fish.
I'm sure you like Swedish fish, or no?
I do. I'm down.
All down for all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Daniel, you can have the Swedish fish.
Yeah.
if Vince doesn't like them,
we will do a taste test later and let you guys all know
Yeah.
about what our review of these candies are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing these. I appreciate
Oh, you're
that.
welcome. I hope it works out for you. Save your life. Not gonna,
I love the confidence.
Live a couple of more years.
Is this thing on? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Summits Podcast. Thank you all for joining us from wherever you guys get your podcasts, or if you are joining us on the Heroes Foundation YouTube channel, thank you for doing so. We greatly appreciate it. If you are on the YouTube channel and you haven't clicked the subscribe button or the little notification bell icon, please do that. It won't cost you a thing. You don't have to buy any Smart Sweets or Sour Patch Kids. But we might throw some in if you do it, though.
Yeah.
Today we are joined by Shea Rankin. Shea, welcome to the Summits Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. Not just because you brought
treat.
smart sweets.
Not because you bribed him.
Right.
But genuinely.
But it's always good
to
to rekindle. It's probably been a couple years since we last ran into each other. For your benefit, and you were maybe born. Yeah, you were born.
It's a loaded statement.
Not by much.
Yeah.
So Shea and I met back at IU in Bloomington. Shea was working at Nick's, which is a very popular restaurant bar in Bloomington.
Okay.
Shea was basically the mayor of the hump room. And
All right. I'm moving past it.
Don't think what you're thinking.
I'm not thinking
I know what you're
anything.
thinking.
You can keep
Oh
moving.
It's just the name of the room, but it's this kind of private room, if you will, up at the front, upstairs, and up at the front of the building.
Okay.
And it's a great get. Like if you can be like the first ones in there and kind of command that room, it's a good spot to be.
Okay.
But Shea, basically, that was her room.
Okay.
And when I say that, meaning she had the power to, of course, get you the picture that you wanted, and if you were being an asshole, had the power to say,
You're out.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of that.
Not us.
No, you guys
but
were perfect.
Others, perhaps.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect's a strong word.
Yeah. I hated working that hump room, but we made a lot of money in there, but they packed it in and
You're right.
everybody, I mean, it was a haul back and forth to get, you're
Just 'cause
carrying all these pictures and there's a long ramp up and down. It just got super crowded. It was
Really
chaos.
quick, funny story. So we went back for a reunion, maybe our 25th. I can't remember. We were all up in there, and we had been up there for, 3 hours or something like that. It felt
That's
like
what
forever.
happens, yeah.
Ate a bunch of food, like picture after picture.
Oh my gosh.
And then the bill came. And the receipt was like this long. And we're expecting it to be pretty substantial.
Yep.
And I can't myself and a couple of guys were at the end of the table. So they just, whoever the waitress was or waiter at the time, just put it down and said, you guys figure it out. But we looked at the total, expecting one number. It was like $300. I'm like, there's no way. Like every other restaurant in the city, it would be triple that.
Yeah.
Like, welcome back to College Town.
I know.
That was awesome.
I
Like,
know.
we went up to the waiter and said, are you sure you got everything on here? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, sweet.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
More money in her pocket or his pocket.
Yeah. I'm sure we were fairly generous tipping because everyone threw in cash. And
Just kind of was a pot. Like, here, just throw it. Here's what I got in my
There
pocket.
you go.
I would say, the college student groups were always very generous. Surprisingly so.
Yeah.
Fun and just throwing money by the time you've had a few drinks, or after 3 hours for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. We may or may not have been able to have seen straight.
Right.
But we could see what that total number was.
Yeah. That's
Right.
all that really
Somehow
mattered.
clicked.
Yeah.
Well, Shea, why don't you give our listeners and viewers a little background intro on yourself?
Oh gosh. You want me to start when I was 2? No, I'm just kidding. No. Okay, so let's see. Vince and I went to college together down at IU. That's how we know each other. Did a little, spin cycle leading when what was that program you had? Fundraiser.
Fit for Heroes.
Fit for Heroes.
Yeah.
You still doing that?
We are. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So that's, kind of, we worked together a little bit there. And then at that time, I owned a cycling studio
Okay.
in Carmel. And that's how I hooked up with some Heroes people and just kind of got into the group. But had that cycling studio in Carmel for 10 years. And at the time, I was training for endurance sports.
Okay.
And doing long bike rides, long bike races. I went from sprint triathlons to Ironman races, and
Because you just wanted more pain.
I think that's where it goes. It's just it's slightly ridiculous. You just keep wanting more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so that's a logical step. So I did 3 of them, which was enough.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was enough. And so after my last one, which was in Hawaii, I did World Championships.
Okay.
I kind of, I just blew up. So I did Ironman Louisville in 6 weeks before Ironman Hawaii. So, They suggest you do, one Ironman a year, maybe two. Okay. So to do one, I qualified in Louisville and I couldn't walk for, 2 weeks, and you can't recover. And then I had to go do World Championships in Hawaii. So, I went, I did the best I could, but I finished the race and it just completely destroyed me. I can't even explain it. And so when I got home, I was, fatigued, exhausted, maybe a little, just real inflamed, just lost the fire. And so I closed the cycle studio down and just backed off of I didn't even want to talk to I didn't want to see it. I just totally disconnected from all of it. I had to recover, regroup. So, that was in, I don't know, 2014 or something, 2015, I don't know. But anyway, so after that, I took a little time off, and then I decided I wanted to do something else. So I wanted to do yoga. I started to get into, I don't actually do a lot of yoga, but I was into I was struggling, with health and wellness. Yeah. So I was trying to figure it out, and in and out of doctors, I just wasn't feeling well. And so I just dove head first into wellness, and yoga was a part of that. So opened a hot yoga studio downtown Indianapolis called Yoga 6. It's at Bottleworks, and getting ready to open a second one in Fishers. Probably not until December will it open. It's under construction now.
Yeah.
And then started this wellness coaching, which is what I love to do. I'm having a great time doing some corporate wellness, coaching one-on-one, doing groups, running, detoxes and, group health coaching sessions, and just having a blast with that. So
let's talk about that.
What's the name of that?
Yeah.
The Pilgrim Method.
The Pilgrim Method.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And, my thought was that, pilgrim is just, someone who's constantly on a journey and, just kind of plugging along. So it kept coming up. It was weird. I was looking for the name and it just was like popping up everywhere. So I was like, that must
there
be
it. Is. Found it. Yeah.
Yep. There it is.
So you coined the name, the Pilgrim Method.
Yep.
You said you love it. So let's tackle that. Prevention being one of the heroes' summits or pillars, if you will. Obviously, it aligns very well with what you're doing. I guess describe for us, if you will, a little bit greater detail what the Pilgrim Method is, and what are some of the services that you're doing, and some of the benefits you've seen.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a lot of questions. Okay, what was the first one? Like, what am I doing? Like, what is the Pilgrim Method?
What is the Pilgrim Method? Good.
Okay, so it's okay. So I have I'm certified as a functional medicine wellness coach. Okay, so that is a program out of the Cleveland Clinic. I did that during COVID, which was just awesome. So functional medicine is the study of the root cause. Okay, so that just fascinates me.
Yep.
What caused it? Why, I don't know enough about cancer, but, functional medicine would, well, how'd you get it? Or why do you have this, why are you depressed? Why do you have anxiety? All of these things. So that fascinated me. And so after I got certified, I just started coaching people and creating programs. And I have, I've been doing some corporate wellness. I have a 21-day detox or reset. People are a little weary of the term detox, but it is what it is. And I love, that's where I like to start people. If somebody's coming and not feeling well and is highly inflamed, having symptoms, then we usually start with some kind of detox so that they can feel good and know that they can feel good.
Right.
So we usually start there. I have some movement programs and stress management programs.
Okay.
So I do groups like wellness clubs, corporate wellness, and individuals.
Yeah.
Nice.
Corporate wellness, in my mind, fairly hot topic. As an employer, as we're both employers, we're all employers.
Right.
We know that one of our biggest costs outside of payroll is health insurance.
Yes.
And it's only going to continue to go up, I'm sure. What have you found? What has piqued the interest of companies that want to bring you in to do these programs, and I guess what's driving them to do it, and what benefits are they seeing at this point?
Yeah, I think, I think there's just a general awareness now. Like, this is where, I don't think companies are obligated to do this, but it's in their best interest, right? I mean, there's lots of studies that show the bottom line is highly affected by, healthy employees. And I'm not saying healthy employees make the best employees, but your unhealthy employees probably aren't giving you their best.
Right.
Right. And, I've been there, where I've, partied all night and got up and just worthless the next day. So you think about that, and it's like, what is happening, when somebody's not feeling well, like what the productivity, what errors are they making, throughout the day? Are they really giving you their best? So, if I was running a company, I would want my employee. I mean, you can't make people be healthy in your company, but you can create an environment. And I think it starts in the C-suite. I think, lead
by example.
Yep, exactly. And there has to be, they have to influence it. And, they have to want that, and they have to show their employees that, I read an article the other day where a guy was like, all CEOs should have a six-pack. I don't know if that's the case. That's a little much, but I know what he's saying. Yeah. It's going to trickle down. And if that's the environment you want, it needs to be from the leaders. So, and the results, I had a really successful program with a company in Nashville, and I think it was very successfand because I was there and I was in the office and I was with them for 2 days. And so, and then, so I was able to connect. I think that's important when you bring somebody in. So I don't know that doing apps and step competitions is as effective as having somebody in there that people can talk to, can share their stories. I'm not, I'm feeling this, these kinds of, all these personal kind of questions. So I think that was, very effective. And they are still, I posted yesterday, the CFO has seen a 20-point decrease in his blood pressure just because of, I came in, I talked to him about how food affects inflammation. Okay, and so if you are having certain symptoms, common symptoms that we all experience, bloat, body aches, those kinds of things, try removing these things. And he did, and his body's responding well. So I'm going back to do a movement challenge with them, bringing me back in. And I think that's where it's at, bringing somebody in and just, having a leader and somebody that your employees can talk to about.
Yeah, we've seen exactly what you're referring to with respect to going back to the Fit for Heroes comment. So one of the Heroes Foundation's events, companies would come in, let's say to the gala, they would buy a table. They're happy to do that, but the table only seats 10 people.
Yeah. And
so they're saying, okay, we want to be active in the community. We agree with what your guys' mission, with what you guys are doing, but how do we have 100 employees. Right. How do we get more of our employees involved? Can't take all, well, you could take all 100 to the gala, but anyway, table only seats 10.
Right.
So that coupled with the idea of employee wellness, Fit for Heroes emerges and it's like, hey, get a company team.
Right.
It could have one person, it could have all 100.
Right. Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
And so you're starting to see them gravitate towards that, and that become fairly important, become a kind of a movement within the company.
Yeah.
And it's not just a one day or one night thing. It could be a month-long campaign.
Right.
And I think if they can take the Pilgrim Method on an annualized basis, but then also do an event like that for 30 days, that could be a nice combination.
And that's exactly right. And that's what I've been doing is about 30 days. So I go in, have a conversation, but then you have to have that continual contact and leader, education piece, motivation piece, guiding people along. So it becomes like that's where the coaching comes in. Right.
Yep.
So you guide them through that process, and just encourage them along the way, and I don't know how long it takes to create a habit. There's all kinds of 10,000 whatever minutes, whatever they say. I don't know hours.
Seems like there's a few different ways on how you make it happen. Yeah.
30 days, it worked for, the CFO. I mean, he created a healthy habit out of it and is seeing real results. I think it's up to each individual. But I also think, there's just a unique influence in companies to create a movement. So there's like this, peer influence. And it's not, it's different than it would be, with your friend group or at home for sure.
Yep.
Your significant other isn't going to be able to peer pressure you into doing something, or your friends, they love you regardless. But there's just a unique, opportunity that companies have, because it's just different. These people don't love you unconditionally, right? So you're going to have a little more. I was just in a place where a guy was like, no, I'm not doing it. The reset. And then after, 2 weeks of people, seeing results and losing weight and feeling great, sleeping better, having more energy, he finally was like, all right, tell me what's up. I was like, where have you been? Like, now I got to redo all,
Yeah.
But the point is that, he was seeing results, and because his buddies at the office were like, come on, man, you got to do this. It's like, all right, tell me what's up. How do I do it?
Yeah.
So, that's, you don't get that everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So for someone like that, what are some of the things that you're trying to encourage them or educating him on?
Well, it comes down to the food you put in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
So I think, it's different. Everybody has a different level of education and knowledge when it comes to food. Sometimes I go places and they're like, are you kidding me? I can't eat that. Like, I thought that was good. And then there's, other companies that I was just with, Imagine,
Yep.
And they were pretty knowledgeable, the group that was there. So, some of the things that I was, giving to, delivering were, they knew it, but a lot of them weren't applying it. So this guy in particular was, they share, what symptoms they have. So, I have bloat or, constant stomach pains. And then, so we talk about the foods that cause, those symptoms, which there's 4. There's sugar, which is the weapon of mass destruction, right? Shoot. I know. But now you only have 3 grams right in front of you.
Perfect.
Do you know that you should only have 31 grams of sugar a day? Added sugar.
I did not know that. The more you know.
Yep, write that down. And I'm guessing it's even lower. That is from the World Health Organization, which is always, probably not optimal.
Yeah.
Normal range, maybe.
Yep.
And then women, 25 grams of sugar, added sugar. That doesn't include, fruit. But, if there's one thing I try to track, I've done all the calorie counting. I don't like to do that, macros or any of that anymore. I do keep track of how much sugar I put in my body. So I try to keep that down, but it's more addictive than cocaine.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did know that.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, there's studies. The rat will go for the sugar every time
Yeah.
over cocaine. It's in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's hard.
I don't know what to say.
I know.
You've broken him.
Yes. Yeah. So sugar, dairy has some issues, a lot of, and gluten is a big issue, and processed vegetable oils.
Okay.
So those are the basics. I mean, you can really get into the weeds on. Do either of you follow the Food Babe? Okay. Well, you should write that down, Vince. It's
Is that her social media?
I mean, you had me at Babe, but
yeah, you heard Babe. Okay. Lots of babes, but she's not one of them. Yeah, she will tell you every single day why you should not be eating certain foods, and it's the food you love.
Yeah.
And she will tell you, she will circle the ingredients that are linked to cancer.
Yeah.
And it's every day there's something, and it's all the food you love: Doritos, Kellogg's, cereals, Quaker Oats,
Everything. Yeah.
every single thing.
Yep.
And it's hard to watch, but I think that's where we need to be. We need to be, looking at that.
Yeah.
So if you had, based on what your research, what the Food Babe says, like, what are a handful of items you said, okay, look, to cut everything out might not be realistic for you, or it's not going to happen on day one, certainly. But if you can make an effort, here are 3 to 5 things, items that are you got to put on the list for sure.
Well, anything in a bag or a box
is out. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing their work. They are trying. I mean, you go to Whole Foods, right? They're trying. They are trying to do the best they can do. There's a product called Simple Meals. That is 5 ingredients, but it's still processed. There's still some stuff in there. I mean, you can do the best you can do. You have to start somewhere. I would start in the cabinet, right. That would be, and that's in fast food.
Yep.
You don't do that though, right? No fast food?
Not as much anymore, no.
Good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So you, cancer, right? Survivor. That's awesome. Was nutrition a big topic when you were going through it?
Great question. When this is 24, 25 years ago,
right.
they being, in my case, IU, were just starting a, call it a pet project, a program, internal program that had a variety of components to it. It's now called the Complete Life Program. One of the aspects of that was having a nutritionist on staff. I had dropped. I mean, I wasn't overweight before I was diagnosed, but as part of the symptoms, I lost even more. I was down to like 131 pounds.
Wow.
I mean, I was Skeletor.
Yeah.
I had a 6-pack, but not for the right reasons. And one of the things they wanted me to actually get weight on, because obviously going through chemo was going to have, I was going to lose my appetite and a variety of other things that could potentially happen. So they had a nutritionist as part of this program. So the program was a variety of services outside of the medicinal treatment. Right. And a nutritionist was one of them. And I think, don't quote me, folks, but I think today that's fairly common practice now with cancer centers or hospitals, is having a nutritionist available to talk to folks about what they should be eating, should not be eating in that particular situation.
Yeah. Okay, good. I had read, and don't quote me on this either, but that medical doctors get a total of like 9 hours of nutritional training. Okay. So there's still work to be done there, for sure, especially since food is the number 1 cause of all of our chronic diseases. So
outside of the no boxed or bagged stuff, if you had to pick 3 to 5 items that you would say make sure that is on your grocery list, what are those items?
Are you talking just like brands, like food?
No, it doesn't have to be a brand, but just what type of foods?
Okay, so Kellogg's out.
Okay.
Any Kellogg's product needs to be out of the house. And there's a big lawsuit now. Activists are suing Kellogg's. Food Babe is all over it. So what Kellogg's is in trouble for now is that they will put toxic chemicals in American food, but leave it out in Europe and other countries. So they can make their product without all these dyes and all those chemicals and stuff, but it tastes better probably and more economical. I mean, sure,
and lasts longer.
And lasts longer. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So there's a big push. Europe is way ahead of us on that. There's a lot of foods. Right. You can't get a Swiss roll in Europe; it's illegal. They won't let Triscuits. Yeah. They won't let you can't have Triscuits. It's the processed oils. So they're really big on the vegetable oils, canola, safflower, sunflower, all those. So Kellogg's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's different habits. Flipping on the Europe thing real quick.
Yeah.
And this is not any slant at Europe at all. In fact, if anything, it's a plug.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to Costco and buying a month's worth of stuff. Right. They're going to the local grocery store a couple times a week just because, to your point, everything's much more fresh, not using as much processed stuff. And that's just the way it is. They're used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And I wish there was more of that here. They do not, and they also won't take our cow, chicken, meat. They won't take our meat because it's so much antibiotic and steroids and stuff. So they won't import it. Yeah, that's crazy too, huh?
Yeah.
So if you can have, and that would be the other thing I would say, if you can afford it, I would definitely eat organic meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's expensive. All of this is expensive. You know,
Right.
like I said, this was $40 for two bags. You owe me.
I will eat one a day.
Yes,
We'll
one
be
a day,
getting
half a
the
one.
Venmo request here
Yes,
when she leaves.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right. But that you need to do that. You know, there's some speculation that, you know, all the antibiotics and steroids in our meat and dairy is causing, you know, premature puberty in kids. So it's out there, man.
Right.
It's scary.
Okay. So
And you have to you have to take care of yourself. So yeah, no Kellogg's, no
Right.
cereal. Not only just like, I would say any cereal in the morning. We don't, you know,
Yeah.
it just boosts your insulin, and then you're just, you know, all day long trying to get that blood sugar down, you know, the milk. And that's what I grew up on. You know, big 2 bowls of cereal, you know, a lot of milk and a glass of orange juice. And I had to have, you know, 45 grams of sugar before I left the house.
Yeah.
And then you try and focus, right, throughout the day. And that's hard, where you're, you know, you're high and then you're low and then you crash and, you know, and then you eat Noble Roman's pizza for lunch. We did a lot of that.
Sounds like a
Cindy
great
would
day.
know. Yeah. I just struggled with weight too because of it, right? All through high school. I didn't know any better. You know?
Yeah.
We don't know any better. You don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
But I wish I did. I'm teaching my kid. That's hard. That's hard. That's really hard. That was one of the questions that I got in a recent Lunch and Learn that I did. It was like, how do you teach your children, right? Because they grew up on this stuff. And so their taste buds are for it, right? Everything has sugar,
Yep.
you know, and so they can, if it's not high, there's at least 57 different names for sugar in our food. You know, oats, high fructose corn syrup, all of those things. So they make everything taste really good that way. And the kids, that's what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
So you'll do lunch and learns with schools versus as well as corporate.
I would do a lunch, but I haven't. No.
Okay.
Gotcha.
No.
Yeah.
No, but sign me up. That would be great. That's a whole nother,
Category?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's hard. I mean, that's just, I don't know if there's money for that, you know, in the schools. I wish there was. But I pack a lunch every day. That's how we manage it. Sometimes he eats it. Sometimes he, you know, gets pizza. You know, you can only control what you can control. I just send him with good food and hope he eats it. But sometimes he has a craving for something else. And
Yeah.
I don't get on him about it,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I say, hey, these blackberries are $6. You know, if you don't eat them, bring them home. Don't throw them in the trash because I will eat them.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom. Okay. Yeah.
So blackberries are good.
Yeah. Fruit's good. Fruits, veggies.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Here, I'll read you what. Have you read The Comfort Crisis? Let me put my
I
glasses
haven't. No.
Well, okay. So I'm sure you know these people. The World Cancer Research Fund, American Institute of Cancer Research. I don't know. They've been 3 decades analyzing data on cancer prevention.
Okay.
Okay, these are the experts. Cancer is a multifactorial disease that is fueled by a deranged metabolism. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Which is why they concluded that being at a healthy weight was the number one thing a person could do to prevent cancer. I don't know. What do you think? A person should mostly be eating, here you go, unprocessed, no surprise here, I'm sure. Unprocessed whole grains and tubers. That's funny.
Tubers?
Tubers.
Tubers.
Yeah. Potatoes, carrots, root
okay.
vegetables,
All right, root vegetables.
fruits, vegetables, and lowish
I'm not up
fat
on my tubers.
animal protein. You're going to have to up your tubers.
Tuber. My
Your
tuber
tuber
knowledge.
Tuber load. Yeah, so there you go. That's
Well,
it.
we certainly know that obesity, there is a correlation between obesity and a higher likelihood, if I'm saying that correctly, of being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
Amongst other, like heart
sure.
disease and
Diabetes.
God knows what else,
Yeah.
diabetes, yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's certainly good to know. And I think to your point earlier about having to go back, like you can't just go do one presentation and leave and expect it to just sink in. And it's
Right.
a habitual thing.
Right. Yeah, you have to
So
practice.
I get it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I would hope, and you can answer this. So after you go through something like cancer, some chronic disease where you may not live, does it change your life? I mean, do you start making better lifestyle decisions? Did you do it?
I think in some
take
cases, yeah.
Okay.
But then again, it comes back to, can you create a habit out of it, and can you stick with it?
Right.
It's like anything else.
Right. Yeah. Did you?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And that's good. That's fine. I mean, we can't be perfect.
Right.
I mean, I work it, I live it, I study it, and I'm not perfect, and I don't try to be, I'll have pizza and, things I shouldn't have. I did quit drinking 8 years ago. So that was a big lifestyle change for me in a big way.
Yeah.
So, but it took, I was 43 years old when I finally quit drinking. So that's what I would encourage people to. You're never too late. I just started working with a lady who's 68, and she's like, I'm just tired of not feeling good.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
Yeah. And, that's where I like to, none of us are, and I shouldn't say none of us. I mean, it's hard to feel 100%, right? But I think I read the stat was like we are operating at about 50-60% humans. I believe that. Do you?
That's probably fair.
Yeah, I mean, we are all going to have our days,
Yep.
right? But we're probably all just kind of, so, we all want to thrive. We all want to do the best we can do. And so if you're not making health your priority, then that's not going to happen in all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So your job, your relationships, friendships, social life, however you show up for life, if you're not feeling good, So I think that's the message that I really try to, instill in people, what's your mindset around it? Is it a priority?
Yep.
It should be a priority because without it, what you got?
Health is wealth.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Winston Churchill said, a healthy citizen is the country's greatest asset. It's good.
Well said. There you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
So Daniel and I both really like pizza.
Okay, let's talk about
But-
pizza.
We do on occasion. Is olive oil good? Like,
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
We'll put
Perfect.
olive oil that's been infused with jalapenos or habaneros on drizzled on the pizza. That makes it
good?
better, right?
Oh, then you are good.
Yeah,
That
all right.
is yes, that is,
It is really good.
absolutely.
It is very good.
That makes
Yeah.
it healthy for
It makes
sure.
me
Okay,
sweat
good.
a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah.
It makes my head sweat.
Yeah.
Detox.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See?
So sauna, a little self-induced sauna.
Right.
Negates everything else.
Where do you guys get pizza? Because
Well, I'll let you answer that.
where do you get pizza? Daniel?
I pretty much at this point, unless it's like for like work events or things like that, if I'm going to have pizza, I'll just make it.
Oh, good. Okay, so you make the dough and everything. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's what you should
Yep.
be doing.
Yep.
I approve.
It's a fun hobby at this point.
Oh, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Got some
Do you have
pizza
the
ovens.
pizza ovens and all that?
Yep.
Okay. What do you put on it?
Usually
Sour
I
Patch
like
Kids.
That's me.
I like just a cheese pizza.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'll put like sometimes like pepperoni and stuff on it.
Oh, sorry.
But it's good with
you
like
and my 13-year-old.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
all
at
you
the
need.
essence. That's
Simple
a
guy.
pizza,
Yeah.
Right?
That's great. Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. I'm okay with it. I don't mind. Plus, my kids prefer cheese pizza, so
That's true.
They do,
it's
yes.
just easier if I make a couple of those and instead of having to figure everything
How
else
old
out.
are your kids?
2.5.
Twins? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep. Fun stuff. Vince knows.
I said, 2 is what they say, terrible twos, and I say 3 is a shit show, man. So you're
Yeah,
about to have
we're
2 times
entering
3.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
2 times
We got a
3.
boy and a girl, so we've got a whole dichotomy there.
You have twins, right?
Yeah.
I do, yeah. But
Okay.
they're a little bit older. They're 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I call them in for reinforcements every now and then.
yeah, there's a lot of that. That's so special, though.
Yeah,
What an
it's
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, cool. And I'm surprised your girls went different directions, right?
They did. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably best.
Yeah.
They have to
For
at some
sure.
point.
Yeah.
They have to. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, Shea, what's one parting word of wisdom or words of wisdom would you like to give?
I would just say, you have to make it a priority. You got to wake up every day and say, what am I going to do today to create health, to avoid illness, right? And you just have to learn. You have to educate yourself. And, another thing I would say is, just become aware of, how your body's feeling. Know that,
Right.
these common symptoms of, fatigue and bloat and, gastral distress. I mean, they're common, but they're not normal. Your body doesn't want to feel that way. So if you're feeling those things, you're inflamed, and inflammation, if not, treated, it becomes a chronic disease.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So cancer is, starts with inflammation. All chronic diseases are inflammation in our body that just get out of control.
Yep.
Right. So start paying attention. Take a inflammation quiz on Dr. Will Cole's website. It's free.
Dr. Will Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See where you're at.
Okay.
But I think people know where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
I think they know how they're feeling.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So do the best you can do. It's hard, man. It is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, just when you think you've got it figured out, they change everything, and man, it's hard. So
Well, we appreciate
Be
you
well.
coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the Smart Sweets.
Yeah.
I'll provide a review later.
yeah. Well, I might hit you up for one of those
Yeah.
Swedish fish before I leave. That's
do
my
that.
that's my sweet.
That's your,
yeah.
there you
That's
go.
my
That's your-
spice.
Your vice. Yep.
Yeah. That's
right.
the one candy I do enjoy.
Okay.
And dots. So we'll
Well,
have
we'll
to
do
have
that.
it. Yeah, be well. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. It was
Thanks for being
fun.
here.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
congratulations on this. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
And thank all you guys for joining us on this episode of the Summits Podcast. We appreciate you all for joining us. If you learned anything new today, then we've done our job. And don't forget, guys, beat cancer.